Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I am Krista McNamara, Editorial Director for ABRN Magazine. Advanced Driver Assistance Systems, or ADAS, have a growing role in today's vehicle repairs, and these systems only continue to climb in their prevalence and complexity. Shop profitability and proper repairs really hinge on knowing exactly how to address these systems and perform accurate calibrations. With me today is Scott McKinney, Senior Project Manager with Bosch Automotive Aftermarket. Scott, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Krista. Thanks for having me.
So Scott's going to walk us through what really matters in ADAS calibration today and how your shop can best prepare to tackle these systems. So Scott, let's get started. How do you see ADAS impacting a shop's long-term profitability and success?
So with ADAS growing, it's really a great opportunity for shops to really expand their reach into their market. Right now, according to ICAR, there's 60 million ADAS equipped vehicles on the road today. So it's a huge opportunity for vehicles that are already out there. And right now, AAA is reporting that 93% of new vehicles sold have at least one ADAS system on board. So really, we see this as a huge growing opportunity. There's already a lot of vehicles out there. There's a lot of vehicles that will be coming down the road with these systems on them. And then, kind of in addition to that, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration has an agreement now with several OEMs to add automatic emergency braking as a standard feature on their vehicles starting next year. So really, we're seeing this not only as a growing opportunity for shops to expand the amount of service that they're offering, but also offer as a customer service aspect as well. As these systems become more safety critical.
Mm-hmm. So obviously it's something that these shops are going to have to be prepared for if they haven't prepared already. But before shops can even, think about tackling these ADAS repairs, they need one very important asset, and that is space. Can you tell us about some of the spatial requirements shops will have to meet in order to tackle these calibrations in-house?
Sure. So right now, as you mentioned, the space is the biggest constraint, I think. And a lot of the space requirements are driven by the OEMs themselves. The systems that they're putting in, the technologies that they're putting in. We've aggregated a lot of the different requirements that are put out there, and as Bosch, we have a set of recommendations that we like to offer for shops that are looking to get into ADAS calibration. The first is sort of the optimal size of a shop. If you're looking for an ADAS specific facility or ADAS specific space, we recommend a space of 60 feet by 40 feet. And I know that's a huge amount of space. There's probably no shops out there that really have that amount of space just open, waiting to be used. But again, that's really more for an ADAS specific facility or space. More of the recommended space for a lot of shops, maybe closer to maybe 45 by 30. And in that type of space, you'll be able to get most types of vehicles into that type of space to be able to be calibrated. You may need to move the vehicle around. If it's a surround view camera, maybe you might have to move the vehicle to one side or the other and do one side at a time. Mm-hmm. But then it's even that's a lot of space to have. So really, as a minimum, we recommend a 25 by 30, 25 feet by 30 feet space. And again, this is going to accommodate most vehicles. Some of the larger SUVs and trucks may not have that be able to fit in that space. But for the most part, you'll be able to get a lot of different vehicles in there. You can go smaller than that as well. But as you go smaller, the number of vehicles you can calibrate becomes smaller and smaller. And then in addition to that, obviously lighting is critical. Making sure you have an even diffuse lighting across the facility. You don't want any kind of spotlights or ambient lighting. Spotlights or external lighting. Sunlight coming in, and then making sure that the area is kind of free of clutter. Any kind of metal toolboxes, obviously, if you're doing radar, you want to avoid any kind of, checker patterns. And a lot of shops oftentimes have checkered flags from a racing event. Mm-hmm. A lot of the targets have that same type of, kind of black and white checkered pattern. So you want to avoid having that in the area as you're doing some calibrations.
Now, what about the flooring itself? I know that can be a challenge in some of the shops.
Yeah, so the floor really should be as even as possible. We recommend no more than 10 millimeters across the surface that you're calibrating in, and I think that comes out to about 4 inches. So there should be no more than the 10 millimeters or 4 inches height difference in the floor.
So, okay, so obviously space is a huge requirement for shops, but proper calibration, also really relies on having the right information as well. So what are some of the relevant data points that shops need to research first before they start tackling an ADAS repair?
Yeah, so the types of information that are really critical are, obviously is first identifying the type of system it is, whether it's a front-facing camera or a radar, surround view camera. So really identifying the type of system that needs to be calibrated. Once you've identified the type of system, then identifying the type of calibration it requires. So there's two or actually three different main types of calibrations that we typically see. The first is a dynamic calibration, and that's where you're going to take the vehicle on a drive cycle. For its specific distance or speed, typically, and the vehicle will look for the different lane markings and things like that are through this known drive cycle. It calibrates the systems. The second type is a static calibration. That's back to what we mentioned before with the spatial requirements. It's bringing the vehicle into a dedicated space, and there's a equipment that you would set up, either for a front-facing camera. Typically, there's some type of target. Front-facing radar, there's either a flat panel or a conical cone used for some of the Asian car makers, or even in the case of surround view, there's some target floor mats that sit around the outside of the vehicle, and then the vehicle uses those to calibrate the system. And then the third type we see is a combination, right? So it's a combination of both the static. First, you kind of get you on target, and then you do the dynamic calibration, and that kind of really brings you into the center. Zeroes in the type of calibration. And really, the key to all of these is accuracy, right? Making sure that, everything is done properly. You're setting up if you're doing a drive cycle, making sure that you've got the proper information ahead of time before you take the vehicle out for that drive cycle. If you're doing a static calibration, making sure that you have the proper height, distance, the right camera target, the right type of equipment that's required for that calibration.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so shops, they have their space set, they have the information that they need to get started. So let's move to that next step. You touched on accuracy. How can a technician ensure they're performing proper calibration of these systems?
Yeah, so accuracy and precision are really critical with these systems. Obviously, with them, in some cases we've seen that even a 1 degree of misalignment can take the vehicle outside of the lane, in a lane departure warning system. So really making sure that the setup is done correctly, following the OE procedures that are prescribed, which includes a lot of preconditions. A lot of times there's preconditions, things like making sure that all the fluids are filled to the proper level. In some cases, either it might be a full fuel tank, might be an empty fuel tank, because that's going to determine the ride height. Making sure that the distance that the targets are set at is set up properly, the height. Things like the drive cycle for the dynamic calibration, making sure that you understand the requirements ahead of time before you take the vehicle out. It's obviously going to make it a lot faster to be able to do it. Also, it's going to be a lot more accurate as well.
Mm-hmm. So in addition to having the knowledge needed to understand and repair ADAS, the tools and equipment that shops have on hand also play a very important role. How can shops best equip themselves for the technology in today's vehicles?
Yeah, so here at Bosch, we've been working with ADAS systems for quite a while. On the production side, tier one side, we're working with a lot of the OEMs developing some of the systems. So it only makes sense that we'd want to be able to also work on the aftermarket side to develop the tools to recalibrate some of these vehicles. And that's why late last year in November, we launched the DAS 3000, which is our ADAS recalibration system. And what that does is that it not only gives you all of the equipment that you need, but also the step-by-step instructions, the guides to walk you through the entire process. And what we've done is we've taken a vision positioning system. We've added that into the DAS 3000 to allow the technician to be able to align the fixture to the vehicle much quicker, much more accurately. We're taking digital measurements using these vision positioning cameras. And then on top of that, we also have a gamified setup, so that it gives you these visual cues to set the system up and put the fixture in place. Mm-hmm. And step-by-step guides that are going to walk you through the entire process. And then on top of that, obviously we have the license coverage from the OEs as well. which again is critical, making sure that you've got the proper coverage in order to access those systems within the vehicle, but also the OE procedures to set the equipment up in the proper manner. And we've got a short video. I was able to get a short video that kind of describes what the system does and kind of gives a visual of how the system works.
Great. Let's take a look at that now.
DAS 3000 from Bosch, the complete ADAS solution that enables shops to recalibrate vehicle camera and radar systems with confidence, speed, efficiency, precision, and a vision for the future. The DAS 3000 utilizes the superior ADAS workflow process to walk you through the calibration step by step for every vehicle. Ready, aim, calibrate. Learn more at boschdiagnostics.com/ADAS.
So, Scott, as we've discussed, ADAS just continues to progress and is becoming more and more common in today's vehicles. And, we've gone through a lot of information and it can be a little overwhelming for shops. What's the first step that shops can do in preparing for these systems?
Yeah. So one thing that we've done, we realized, this is a very complex, new technology that's out there. So one thing we're offering as part of our DAS 3000 recalibration kit is, we offer both a virtual training option. So after you receive the equipment, there's an option to take some virtual training with some of our technical service team. They're going to walk you through the setup of a lot of ADAS calibrations, how to use the equipment. And in addition to that, we also have an enhanced technical support line that will, kind of be a resource for shops that are looking to do calibrations. And, it's not just a product line where you can call in with questions about the product, but also they're able to troubleshoot and help diagnose some ADAS issues as well. So really, it's expanding out, beyond just the typical customer service line that you would typically have for a product. And we really feel that this is a very user-friendly type product, but obviously there's always going to be questions, with new technologies like this. So we're trying to support and help shops as best we can.
Scott, thank you so much for your insight into ADAS repairs and what shops need to do to prepare and execute proper repairs. As we've discussed here today, and I'm sure you've heard out in the industry, ADAS technology is and just continues to be a growing trend in the automotive sector. And if shops aren't up to speed and staying ahead of the curve, there won't be a long-term place for them in the aftermarket. So please take these tips from Scott and Bosch Automotive Aftermarket and make sure your business is always ready for the next challenge in the Bay. I'm Krista McNamara with ABRN, and thank you for watching.